if you feel like your nervous system resists peace, if part of you is scared to shine, it may not be your story. It may be a story you inherited. We're not going to demonize ancestral loyalty, meaning we're not going to go into you have to break all the cycles at all costs. And what this study shows us, and frankly, what many of us already feel to be true, is that trauma, fear, and memory can be passed down not just through stories, but through biology. Sabrosura, papi, que. Welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast que comparte nuestras historias sin censura. Yo soy Pam Covarrubias, and today it's just you and me. And this episode is part storytelling, part reflection, part unlearning. El día de hoy vamos a hablar de la lealtad, loyalty. Not the kind of loyalty you earn with punch cards or friendship bracelets, but the invisible kind that runs deep in our DNA and in our beliefs. Have you ever caught yourself doing something like reacting a certain way, choosing struggle over ease, dimming your joy, and thought, why do I keep doing this? Well, sometimes it's not even about you. Sometimes it's your abuelita's survival instincts, your mom's silence, your dad's beliefs, your tia's fear of being too much. This is what we call the subconscious loyalty to the lineage. De verdad. You may also be loyal to your past self as well. You may be loyal to the previous version of you who had to hustle to stay safe, the one who believed love must be earned, the one who thought being quiet meant being good. And I want to clarify, this is not what we're going to do today. We're not going to demonize ancestral loyalty, meaning we're not going to go into you have to break all the cycles at all costs, or even go to the opposite side of overly glorifying and honoring your ancestors, because we know we must set healthy boundaries even with our lineage. Let's set the stage there. Y primero, let's ground ourselves in science, porque, I'm neurodiverse, so I love to nerd out on things. So in 2013, scientists ran a study with mice. They trained them to fear the smell of orange blossoms, specifically a compound called acetophenone. I don't know how to say it in English. And they did this by pairing the smell with electric shocks. Over time, the mice would panic just from the scent without even having the presence of the shocks. So they would bring in the scent, shock them, bring the scent, shock them, bring in the scent, shock them. Eventually, that became a pattern that when the mice would just notice the smell, they would get anxious about it. And the mind-blowing part is as follows. Their children and their grandchildren, these are mice who had never experienced the shocks, also showed fear when the smell of orange blossoms came into their nearest environment. What scientists realized is that their DNA had changed. And what this study shows us, and frankly, what many of us already feel to be true, is that trauma, fear, and memory can be passed down not just through stories, but through biology. So, if you feel like your body flinches at joy, if you feel like your nervous system resists peace, if part of you is scared to shine, it may not be your story. It may be a story you inherited. So, let's keep it nerdy still. Let's remember that our brain is a pattern recognition machine. The brain loves the familiar. It's easy. It's easy for the brain to just go back to what is familiar because the role of the brain is to protect you. And so when our brain is preserving energy, it's not burning calories, therefore it protects us. So that's why it always goes back to the familiar. So, looking at it from a neuroscience perspective, our subconscious mind drives up to 95% of our behavior. 95%. Between the ages of 0 to 7, our brain continuously is on theta brainwaves. This is basically a sponge. So, from 0 to 7, this is when we absorb the beliefs, the behaviors, the roles. This is when kids and us as children, this is when we notice everything and then we say, oop, this is a story I'm going to believe to be true. Oop, this is a story I'm going to believe to be true. And these are early models that become our mental operating system. So think about your phones, as we have our phones and we often need updates on our operating systems. Our brains kind of do too. The challenge is that we don't always upgrade our operating system because we tend to revert back to the familiar. So, when we repeat our mama's sacrifices or our abuela's silence or even the tia's hyper independence, this is your subconscious loyalty, perhaps. And it could show up as feeling guilty when things go too well that they feel not familiar. When we block abundance because we know that the people that came before us didn't have it. So we were like, oh, our nervous system is like, don't know if I can receive that. When we stay small because the people that came before us weren't allowed to be big. When we overgive to prove we are still good. And this is our nervous system, our central nervous system, simply keeping you safe. Not fulfilled, but safe, because that's what it knows. What our bodies know is what's familiar, and what's familiar is the prior story. And unless we bring awareness, we're going to keep choosing the familiar over and over and over freedom. And I know, frankly, I do believe that if you're here, if you're listening to this, is because maybe you need to, maybe it's time. Many times we go in the world and we don't notice the patterns. And so the invitation is for you to be open to what I'm going to share. So then you give yourself permission to notice the patterns. And I can give some examples for myself, for my clients that we've uncovered when it comes to loyalty. It might give you some hints on yourself. So loyalty can show up in the following ways. Maybe when you think, well, I just saw my mom work all the time, so I am one that works all the time. I feel like Latinos, we tend to be like, we are just working bodies and we're great. And we pride ourselves from being the working force. And so loyalty could be like, how dare I rest when they didn't? Another way, it could be literally calling this is not what we do in our family. In our family, we don't talk about these things. In our family, we don't discuss those things. It could also show up in just beliefs. This is how I am. And I hear this a ton when I work with people one-on-one, when they're like, this is what I've always done. This is just how I am. Okay. Another way is when when it's very subconscious. So this one is not something that I hear people outwardly say, but when we actually give ourselves permission to go inward and ask yourself, it's this, which is, I can't outshine. I can't outshine my parents. I can't outshine my mom, my dad, whoever raised me. I can't outgrow them or out earn them. I can't make more money than they ever did because they worked so hard. How could I? How could I make more money than they did? So that's another way that loyalty shows up. And a big one. Oh, this is so big. If I grow, will I still belong? I had that one. So this one it's a loyalty to even the community, to the stereotype of who we are and how we show up in the world. Maybe this is a moment for you to pause for a second and really, I invite you to give yourself permission to to reflect on this, because sometimes we're not just being loyal to specific people. We're being loyal to patterns. We're being loyal to pain. We're being loyal to silence. We're being loyal to the models that we may have seen, whether it's through biology or even just witnessing, just modeling. We all know this. Talking about money is not always the most comfortable. Pero our friends from Savvy Ladies make it easier. And now en español. You don't have to feel the pressure to translate for your mamá or your tías, because Savvy Ladies has their whole site en nuestro idioma. Y ahora they can easily access their free resources like talleres, clases, y mi favorita es la línea gratis para enviar preguntas. Their free financial helpline, en donde puedes conectar with a trusted financial expert. Whether you need financial guidance in English or in Espanol, Savvy Ladies is here to support you. Visit savvyladies.org, that is SAVVYLADIES.org, para empezar your financial freedom. Here's the thing. Latina families have been saving money forever. From reusing plastic containers for comida, folding up plastic bags under the sink, and diluting dish soap with water. The last thing we need is to pay fees to access our money, right? Pues, in case you didn't know, BMO customers have access to 40,000 fee-free ATMs across the United States. Plus, their BMO Smart Advantage checking account has no monthly maintenance fee. Learn more about how BMO can help by visiting bmo.com/checking. bmo.com/checking. Conditions apply. Accounts provided in the United States by BMO Bank, N.A. member FDIC. So, what do we do? So maybe you've noticed a pattern and you're like, all right, I'm ready, Pam. Let's go. Let's do this. So I'm going to give you a self-coaching process, 2 self-coaching frameworks that can help you, because this is my service to you. This is a free podcast for you to do the work that you need to do. And of course, if there's additional work that you may want to do, then we can explore those ways. But I want to make sure I give you enough for you to take this information and then move it along, move yourself through without activating you too much. Because we also want to be conscious and aware that when our bodies have experienced trauma, we don't want to re-traumatize ourselves. So we want to be careful there. First, this is a simple coaching process that will help you examine where you might be acting when it comes to your loyalty versus liberation. So 5 steps. Number 1, pause. Name the pattern. So this is where the question to ask yourself is, what keeps happening? What do I keep doing? Maybe, and frankly, this is a lot of retrospection. So self-coaching involves some work. And so what keeps happening could be that you keep undercharging. What keeps happening could be that maybe, and I like all of the stories of my clients that I've worked through this keep coming in. So maybe you stay quiet in meetings, or maybe you victimize yourself. What is the pattern that keeps repeating? Number 2, we trace. Ask yourself, where did I learn this? Was this a model that I learned? Was it a thought? Was it a feeling? Is it a feeling that drives me to do this? So number 3, we name the loyalty. Who am I trying to protect or honor by doing this? Sometimes it's yourself. Sometimes it could be our name, the family name. It could be many things. Number 4, you check for truth. Is this still true for me now? Is this still true for me now? It could be that at some point it was, and you're ready to shed that. You're ready to release it. It may not be true for you any longer. The body might be wanting to go back to familiarity. If this is not true for me, it's not true for me anymore. And number 5, we choose again. What would feel like freedom and liberation instead of loyalty? Ask yourself, tune in, and see what happens. The next framework that I'm going to give you is a tool I teach inside Gather Circle, and I've shared it in Pam in Your Pocket. This is called the FUEGO Method. And the FUEGO Method helps you notice patterns, and it's another self-coaching tool. It's really easy. It spells fuego. F for feel. You notice the sensation or the emotion. U for uncover. What's a story or loyalty that might be underneath this? E for express. Say it out loud. Write it, tap on it, scream it on a pillow. Express it. Give your body permission to express it. G for grace. Give grace, because compassion is our bridge. O for open to new action. This is where you give yourself 1%. What's one liberating micro action you can take? 1%. Micro action could look like, this is the example. So maybe you feel guilt for setting a boundary. So the feeling, I'm feeling my chest tight. We uncover what's the story or loyalty that might be underneath this. Well, the story might be that I'm betraying my mom's values because I'm setting a boundary. She was always so giving. She was always so like people pleasing in a way. So I feel like I'm betraying my mom by setting a boundary or wanting to set a boundary. Express, I would tap about it. Give grace. This is where you remind yourself this boundary honors me and honors them. So give yourself grace to say, we've gone through this, we've lived through this, and it's an honor to be able to work through it. And open to new action, this is when you lovingly hold your boundary. You give yourself love and you say, we set this boundary, done. I want to give you some journaling prompts as well. So for those of you who like to write and journal, 5 questions to ask yourself. Whose story are you still carrying? Where do I feel fear around changing? So this brings your protector. How am I being protected around it? What does being loyal mean to me? Who taught me that healing was betrayal? Love that question. And what version of me am I afraid to outgrow? And be honest. Nobody's going to read your answers. This is something that you give to yourself. And that's it. If you are interested in tapping, I'll give you a quick one that you can do. You can literally tap on the side of the hand, even though part of me feels scared to let go of this pattern. I honor my body, my lineage, and my desire to heal. And you can repeat that through all the points. If you want to hear a full sequence along with this episode, I'm going to share a bonus episode for the supporters club. So $5 a month, this is a way to support us and you get access to a full sequence, in this case, plus additional episodes that I've uploaded already. Bonus for being here and supporting our work. So remember, you're not a traitor for choosing peace. You're not ungrateful for wanting more. You're not abandoning your family. You are becoming the ancestor they prayed for. Loyalty without discernment becomes a leash, but loyalty with love becomes lineage leadership. Yes, I know, loyalty is beautiful, but not when it costs you your joy, your peace, your inner groundedness. So let's be loyal to our growth, to our inner niña, to our future, to becoming lineage leaders. Sometimes we think we're being loyal to our family, to our ancestors, to our old selves. But really what's happening is that's keeping us stuck. When we repeat patterns like burnout, people pleasing, shrinking, this is our brain saying this is safe and this is familiar. And we want to remind ourselves familiar isn't always freedom. Loyalty doesn't mean we have to carry the pain. It means we honor, we transmute it, and we move forward differently. So one last question to ask yourself: what story am I going to be loyal to? And what would I change if I choose to be loyal to my healed self instead? Because you're not betraying your silence, you're liberating it. True loyalty, it's not repeating their pain, it's transforming it into power. Thank you so, so much for being here. I can't wait to see you next time. Y siempre, 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 sigue brillando. Café con Pam is created con mucho amor by our small but mighty team. Content production by Nancy Jaimes. Podcast management by Maru Linardi. Social media and marketing by Brenda Figueroa. And me, your host, Pam Covarrubias. To keep the cafecito brewing and the healing flowing, Join the Supporters Club for only $5 a month and access early episodes, behind the scenes vibes, and exclusive minisodes you won't hear anywhere else. Screenshot this episode and tag me and share what resonated. I love seeing your takeaways. Follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's keep the conversation going with us on social media at Cafe con Pan Podcast, because your voice always matters there. We love being on Instagram and Facebook. Gracias for listening to Cafe con Pan, a Spread Ideas Move People production. For more episodes, guest info, or resources, visit cafeconpam.com. And if you're healing from calladita culture and don't know where to start, you can take the quiz. cafeconpam.com/quiz for tia wisdom and cariño just for you.
Sabrosura pa' ti que